Siyum, customs associated with the Siyum Masechta. What is a Siyum exactly? So there are 63 volumes of Mishnah. On the Mishnah there is the Gemara, and the Gemara is the explanation of the Mishnah. From these 63 volumes of Mishnah, there are 37 volumes of the Gemara from the Talmud Babli, the Babylonian Talmud, or 39 Masechtot from the Talmud Yerushalmi, from the Jerusalem Talmud. Generally, when we refer to a Siyum, for most people, a Siyum is the completion of a volume of one of the volumes of the Talmud Babli, of the Babylonian Talmud. So that's one of the 37 volumes. What goes on? So basically, after intensive study and learning, it's a very, very happy occasion, and a Siyum occurs. What is the source of this? The source of this is a statement by Abaye in Masechet Shabbat, where he says, Titili dechi hazina surba midrabbanan de shali masechte abidna yomat tabal rabbanan. Goes, it was my practice, anytime I would see the rabbinical students complete a tractate, a volume of Gemara, I would make it into a holiday for them, into a party and a holiday for them. And this became a very big thing that became a tradition in the Jewish nation for many generations and centuries, in fact, to our present day. While this was not something that was commonly known in our communities, and for most people when they hear Siyum, they think of the fast of the firstborn on Erev Pesach, it is nonetheless a practice of those who study Gemara. And even in the old country, it was those who studied Zohar that would have a Siyum on Zohar and conduct a festive event. In any case, let's talk about Siyum Masechet of Gemara, because that's the most common thing today. What customs are involved with it? First of all, when we finish the Gemara, there is a prayer at the end called the Hadran Alach. And this is basically a prayer that we say, saying that Gemara, we studied you, but we're not neglecting you going forward. We're going to keep repeating you. We're going to come back to you and study you again, and we're going to keep repeating you again and learning you again. And followed by that, we say a prayer where numerous members of the Rav Papa family are mentioned, specifically 10 sons of Rav Papa. Rav Papa is one of the important Hachamim in the Gemara, and 10 sons are mentioned. There are various reasons as to why these sons are mentioned. The two most common reasons are that these 10 sons were very, very generous, and very wealthy and very generous, and anytime there was a Siyum, they would go and donate for the Siyum and put out a big party, a big spread. And therefore, in their memory, we would always remember them at the Siyum Masechta. Another explanation is that these 10 sons were all murdered on one day by the Persians, and therefore, as a memorial prayer to them, at the end of the Gemara, we mention their names in remembrance of them, followed by Kaddish. We're saying Kaddish afterwards. Which Kaddish is said? If we look at the older printings of the Gemara, okay, let's start with the first printing of the Gemara, which was published in Venice between the years of 1510 and 1513. We just see regular Kaddish al Yisrael, what we know as Kaddish de Rabbanan. We don't see a different type of Kaddish. In most Masechtot of Gemara printed throughout the world, we only see this same Kaddish. It's only in the last century and a half, the Gemarot coming out of Poland started printing a different Kaddish, a Kaddish that we know as, among Sephardim, we know it as Kaddish Targum, or Kaddish Hu Atid Lehat Ta'alma, which we generally only recite on Tisha B'Av, or among certain Sephardic communities, it's recited at the burial of the deceased. It is not our custom to say this Kaddish at a Siyum Masechet, and we know this, obviously we know this from oral tradition, but it's clearly written in Ket Shem Tov of Rabbi Shem Tov Gagin, who records our halachot and minhagim, and it's written in various other places as well, that we do not say that Kaddish at the Siyum Masechet. Rather we say the regular Kaddish al Yisrael as it was printed in the older Gemarot. Now, those have asked, are there any certain Pizmonim that are associated with the Siyum? In fact, there are Pizmonim for a Siyum. We don't have them printed in any one place, but I have a old 1921 Pizmon book from Hacham Azra Mishaniyeh, and Hacham Azra Mishaniyeh in the table of contents actually wrote down which Pizmonim are for a Siyum. There aren't many of them. I could just name a few of them quickly. You have Refa Siri, we have Ilram Barech, Man Na'im Hatan, Ram V'Na'alam, Ram Hastach, Hanun Rahim, and a few others. All in all, about 10 or 12 Pizmonim that are specifically marked by Hacham Azra Mishaniyeh for a Siyum. Obviously, that was a tradition that he had, that he brought over from Halab with him. Others have asked, on a day that somebody's making a Siyum, is it Yihishem? Is it Anna? So this is not something we find in the older Sidurim or the older compilations of Halacha, but in newer Sidurim, books published in the last 10, 20 years, you do see that it mentions the Siyum among issues that are considered a Sa'udat Mizvah, like a Pidyon Haben, or a Brit Milah, or a groom, and it says that if a Siyum is happening immediately before a prayer or immediately after a prayer, and those involved in the Siyum are there at the prayer, so in that prayer you would omit Tahanunim, you would omit supplications and confession, and only say Yihishem. That would apply whether we're talking about Shahrit or Manha. As far as Kiddush, some people have asked, do you need a cup of wine and to say Kiddush? So because it's a Sa'udat Mizvah, as we mentioned, if it's a wedding, which is a Sa'udat Mizvah, or a Brit Milah, a Sa'udat Mizvah, or Pidyon Haben, a Sa'udat Mizvah, we consider Siyum Masechet also Sa'udat Mizvah, and the same way we have a cup and we make Kiddush, we say Sabri Mananan and Beracha Borifri Gefen at all these occasions, we do the same thing at the Siyum Masechet. And these are the minhagim associated with Siyum Masechta.